Thanks so much, everyone, for coming along this afternoon to sort of view the Scottish AI Playbook and to get an understanding of what it's all about and how you can get involved in the playbook as well. The playbook actually launched 2 weeks ago, and we decided to have this event a couple of weeks later so that anyone who was interested in the platform could go on, could have a look, could sort of see some of the things that were happening on it, and then we could come to this event sort of informed. However, I will go through what the playbook's about, how we got to where we are, as well as demonstrating the platform as well, for those of you who haven't had the opportunity to actually make it onto the platform yet. So I'm just going to share my screen and I'm going to give you a race through of the presentation that I have, so that we have time to have a wee look at the playbook itself, and also so I can answer any of your questions at the end of the event. So here comes the always tricky part. Okay, can everybody see my screen? Well, could you let me know? I'm gonna
yeah, I see it signed. Sorry, I was muted.
Going to take that as a yes. So for those of you who don't know, we are the Scottish AI Alliance, and we are tasked with delivering Scotland's AI strategy. And I am the project manager for the Scottish AI Alliance, and Will is our comms and events manager. So we're tasked with the delivery of Scotland's AI strategy, of which the Scottish AI Playbook is a key deliverable. And it's a partnership between the Data Lab and the Scottish Government, and all of our activities are overseen by a leadership group, who were chosen for representation across the AI ecosystem, and they liaise with us as necessary on specific projects. So Scotland's AI strategy was launched last year in March 2021, and you can find that on our strategy website, which is scotlandsaistrategy.com. And our vision for AI in Scotland is to become the leader in the development and use of trustworthy, ethical and inclusive AI. So that's just a little bit of background to the Scottish AI Playbook itself. As I said, the Scottish AI Playbook is a key deliverable of Scotland's AI strategy, and it's an open and practical guide to how we do AI in Scotland. So engagement throughout the process up to this point has been that we wanted to have a tangible and practical playbook that was focused on ethics and regulation, and taking an open and collaborative approach across the AI ecosystem and beyond. And this is why we decided that the initial iteration of the playbook would be in a wiki format. We'd be looking for dynamic content which would be relevant and up to date, accessible. And we were really keen not to reinvent the wheel with this. We know that there is a plethora of excellent resources available across Scotland and indeed across the whole world. So we thought for this initial iteration of the playbook, what we would do is gather existing resources from the four corners of the AI ecosystem and home them in the AI Playbook. Once we've actually gone past this initial phase that we're in just now, we will identify specific assets that need to be developed on the basis of what's sort of missing from what's already out there. So we want to take the best of what's already in existence, and then we want to add and develop on that for our playbook. So the playbook is a one-stop shop for anyone in Scotland embarking on a journey involving AI, whether it's learning, using, developing, deploying, or just exploring AI. And this is our playbook development process so far. So as you can see, we are actually in phase 2, where the collaborative playbook site has now been launched. And from that, we're going to continue a programme of stakeholder and user engagement and really encourage this collaborative building of the playbook over the next several months. This comes off the back of extensive stakeholder engagement, user group identification, requirements mapping, confirming the format and mechanism, and developing the initial site as well. Once we get to the end of this year, once the playbook has been up and running, and hopefully you've all been collaborating on it and we've all been taking part in growing and developing it, we will be looking at conducting a gap analysis of the resources that are on the playbook, and we will be liaising with stakeholders and users to undertake that, and we will be developing necessary assets to further enhance the playbook as we go forward. So as I mentioned at the top of my presentation, the Scottish AI Playbook is now live. The site went live 2 weeks ago, and I can see that some people have already been engaging with it and interacting with the content that's already there. But how can you get involved right now? What we are looking for is people to go onto the playbook, request an account, and once your account has been approved, we encourage you to add and edit pages in the wiki that are related to AI content and resources that would be beneficial to the Scottish AI community and the wider public. So yeah, as I said, you would just have to request an account, and once your request has been approved, you'll be able to edit and add pages to the playbook. I'll give you an example later on of what it is that we're actually looking for. As it stands just now as well, you don't need to have an account to view the playbook and to navigate your way through the existing resources that are already there. You only need to make an account if you want to create pages or edit pages. So from that, once you have an account, you can contribute resources. Now, the type of resources that we are looking for is really anything that you think has been important in developing AI knowledge, skills, and business cases. So toolkits, frameworks, guidance, training, links to other organisations, anything really goes. We're really taking an open approach to the type of resources that we want to see hosted on the playbook. So if you feel like it's been beneficial in your journey, or you can see it being beneficial for example, in the education space or any other sort of sector or thematic space, then yeah, feel free to add that to the playbook. As an example of some of the things that have already been submitted by users has been links to the Machine Learning Commons, links to the UK government's artificial intelligence information and guidance, and also, for example, links to libraries of resources such as the Equinet AI Inequality Library. Excuse me. So one of the other things that you can do is become a volunteer moderator. So we'll be seeking volunteer moderators for the Scottish AI Playbook as the playbook continues to grow. If you have any sort of professional or academic background in AI, we would love to hear from you in order to become a moderator. So moderator contributions will be vital in ensuring the ongoing accuracy, relevance, trustworthiness of the information contained in the Scottish AI Playbook. And what we would basically be asking you to do is basically for an hour or so a month, liaise with the content which is within your subject matter expertise to ensure that it is relevant, ensure that it's accurate, and ensure that it's up to date as well. We've had quite a lot of people get in contact with us who are interested in becoming a moderator already, and I have been sifting through your applications. It's a two-step process. The first one is just to express your interest, and then after that, the next step is to look at your sort of experience in the space, the time that you are able to contribute to this. And also, we are really keen that the people who are involved in the playbook are somehow involved in the AI ecosystem in Scotland. So that could be working in the AI ecosystem, it could be studying, it could be research, participating in research that has been particularly prevalent in Scotland. Just some sort of connection to the Scottish AI ecosystem is ideally what we're looking for. The next way that you can get involved is to suggest partner organisations. So as we look at how we're developing the playbook in the later stages, we are really keen to explore the option of having partner organisations on board to curate areas of the playbook that are relevant to their sector or area. So this might be partners in the healthcare space who would curate a healthcare section of the playbook, or partners in the education space who might curate the education section, for example. But I'm willing to have creative ideas thrown at me in terms of the different sort of partners that we could get involved with. This is something for further down the line and for further conversations. So not something for right now, but I would really encourage anybody that interacts with the playbook to think about other ways and other organisations that might also want to get involved, so that we can truly develop the playbook to be inclusive of the whole of Scotland's AI ecosystem. And then finally, I would just ask that you spread the word and help us get Scotland's AI community involved in the growth of the Scottish AI Playbook. So sharing the playbook with your colleagues, students, other interested organisations, anybody who might find the playbook useful or have something to contribute would be fantastic. So the more of the community that we can get involved, the more relevant and useful and interesting the playbook will be. So you can find the Scottish AI Playbook handily at www.scottishAIplaybook.com. And I'm just going to quickly show you the platform. So bear with me just a moment.
Hi, Dawn. While you're doing that, there's also a question in the the comments, which you might answer while you're going through the platform, but just to keep in mind. It was from Dr. Gina Helfrich. With the ability to have lots of contributions, I'm curious how the playbook is designed to prevent users from feeling overwhelmed with tons of links.
So that's a great question. What we're actually doing is we are trying to develop the playbook along different pathways. So we have 6 key user groups, for example, which is researchers, educators, third sector, public sector, business, consumers and entrepreneurs. And those are just the first 6 groups that we've actually started to develop. We envisage there being more groups as we work further on. And as the content develops, you would be able to access all the content that's tagged for researchers or tagged for business consumers, for example. And this is already set up as a category. Different user groups are set up as a category on the playbook already. We've also set up categories for different themes and also for different themes, different sectors, different resource types. So there are different ways that you can engage with the playbook, which would hopefully not be too overwhelming. So if you're looking for toolkits, you can specifically look at toolkits. If you're looking for things in the construction sector, you can specifically look at the construction sector. It's just about how people tag things and how they categorize them. Okay, bear with me a sec. I was having some small technical issues here, but I hope I managed to pretend that wasn't happening. Okay, so here we go. So this is basically the home screen for the Scottish AI Playbook at the moment. Excuse me. We talk a little bit more here about our key users just below here, and also encourage people to contribute and get involved. But the actual playbook itself is the wiki here. As you can see, we've gone for a very, very classic Wikipedia-esque design. We use MediaWiki as the framework for developing the content and the page here. You have the opportunity to request an account up here in the top right-hand corner. We also have utilised MediaWiki's help pages for editing and developing the content because it's sort of a universal wiki approach, and straight away you can see that you can create a page, and we have article naming conventions as well in order for people to be able to find the content that we're sending to them. As I just mentioned down at the side here, we have details about who we are and the strategy and the State of AI report, the AI Summit, all of these sort of things. So you can find out more details about the alliance and the strategy and what we're working towards. Just in reference to the last question that we had there, just below support, you can see we've divided things into themes, sectors, user groups, resource types, and down below here is where we will have our partners, but we currently are not engaging with partners yet. We're looking to develop that, and as well as other just typical wiki tools at the bottom here. So for example, in the business theme, you can see that these are all of the articles that have been tagged as business related at the moment. And I've popped up here the category tags, so that if you are engaging with the wiki and you have, for example, AI and business related content, the category tag is here. You would put that into the upload, and it would tag it here, and you would be able to find it here. So it's a very, very standard wiki format. We wanted to keep it very simple so that people are aware and familiar with how to actually integrate with the platform. And in each one, we have our talk pages as well. This is a way for people to give feedback and also to collaborate on the page directly. So again, to interact with the talk pages, you need to have an account as well. But this will allow you to be able to interact with each other, give feedback on the pages, and give feedback on the content of the pages as well. So yeah, so this is what we've got so far. It is a pretty standard wiki format and wiki layout, but we would encourage anybody who is interested in like going through the help pages that we have, and also liaising with myself or with the more general AI Alliance email page. So that is the Scottish AI Playbook for the moment. And does anyone have any questions? I need to excuse my breathlessness because I had COVID for 2 weeks, so.
The question there in the chat, Dawn, is there any guidance around the content being specifically relevant to Scotland?
So what I would say just now is that I think the content, well, this is actually a really good point. Just now we're just looking for any content that you could that you think would be applicable. I think this is actually something that's really interesting that's been brought up about, like, what do we consider to be applicable to Scotland or relevant to Scotland? What I would say just now is if you think that there is if you think it's relevant and you're part of the wider ecosystem, the wider Scottish AI community, then like submit it. Everything gets reviewed anyway on an ongoing basis, and then we can start a dialogue with you about why you thought it might be relevant. And I think going forward, that's something that we actually need to think about, is creating guidance around what would be considered relevant to Scotland or applicable to Scotland in this case. So I think that's actually a really good point to bring up. And that's why I really enjoy doing these events, because people always bring up stuff that I haven't thought about. So I really would encourage you to give me more things that I haven't thought about. But yeah, if you have anything in particular that you're considering at the moment, Will, could you put my email address in the chat, please? You could email me directly and reach out to me directly if there's something that you're thinking about, and I'd be more than willing to have a chat with you about it. But if you're talking about things which may be, for example, reports relating to different countries, or research that was carried out looking at different countries, I personally would say you should still put that on the playbook, because we can extrapolate the learnings from it and the information of it to Scotland, either directly, or we can look at it as a comparison as to how we might be different. I hope that answers your question. Okay. Anybody else? Otherwise, I'll make Will start asking me questions.
Oh, there's another question there. I'm still not 100% from Ingo. I'm still not 100% sure about the actual use case for this wiki. Is it about cataloging AI tools, businesses / research? As a consumer of the playbook, is it meant to be just for lookup?
Okay, that's a great question. At the moment, because we're taking a phased approach to the playbook, at the moment, the playbook wiki is for cataloguing AI tools, businesses, researches, approaches, frameworks, anything at all which is already out there in the ecosystem, and we're categorizing them around our user groups or around sectors, etc. What we're going to do is, once we have been running the wiki for X amount of time, we will be looking at whether or not we need to further develop this into a new tool for the playbook. So that might end up looking like something different. But as it stands just now, one of the key things that people in our initial user research came out and said to us was that there was so much information out there. Where do you even start to look for it? Where do you even go? For example, if you're an academic researcher, maybe not an academic researcher so much, but if you're someone who's in the third sector, starting off on your AI journey, where do you even start to look? So this is where one of the things that we were looking at in terms of this initial phase was bringing together some of that information and categorizing it for the groups based on their needs. We're hoping that once we have some more detailed information, we'll be able to make more of a structured pathway for our users through the content, so that it can be, as one of my colleagues says, a handrail, not an escalator. So a handrail for people through their AI journey, and it would be of some assistance in that way. I guess in terms of being a consumer, there's different ways to be a consumer of the playbook. So you could consume the playbook as someone looking it up for information, particularly information pertaining to the user group that you might be in, the sector that you might be in, or thematically based on different sort of key AI themes. But also as a wider consumer, you can actually collaborate with it. You can actually submit the things that you find useful or helpful during your AI journey to the playbook, so that it becomes more of a collaborative space. So I hope that answered your question.
There's another question again, again from Ingo, AI is rapidly changing field. How do you plan to handle outdated information? Wikis tend to gather a lot of information, but it might get bloated with outdated information. And yes, thanks, you answered.
Yeah, thanks again, Ingo. Yeah, so this is one of the things that we are hoping to overcome by utilising our moderators, and also just through continuous improvement and continuous review. We, as I said, this particular phase we are looking at until the end of December, or sorry, until around December. And then we're like looking at how we can analyze and develop within some of the gaps of the information that people have sent to us. I think part of that gap analysis is going to be how do we continue to ensure that information is kept up to date. Just now, one of the things that we are doing to ensure that information is at least placed in the right time and space, if you like, is that resources are named to include their the resource name, the resource owner, and the year that it was created, so that there's some sort of idea about the age of the resource that people would be interacting with. But I completely recognize that that is just a solution for now, and as we develop further, we're going to have to look at better ways to keep our information updated and kind of relevant to the users. But what I would also say is that, and I'm a bit of a broken record today, is that I would encourage the community of users to use the talk pages and the discussion pages on the wiki to highlight when things might be out of date, or highlight that there may be new resources that we can point to. This is all part of the collaborative nature of the platform. But thanks, that was a really good question. Again, this is another thing that we always need to be thinking of. What I would say is, especially with the pace that I went through our presentation, is that this can be a bit of information overload. As Will said, the recording is going to be available on YouTube, and we can make the slides available to anybody who wants them. I'm sure we can do that, Will. I would really encourage you to have a think about what we've talked about, have a think about the platform, and really, if there's anything that sort of comes to your mind, there's no question too out there, too esoteric. There's no idea too creative or novel for the playbook. I really am open to hearing what you, as the AI community or part of the AI community in Scotland, wants to say about the playbook and your ideas about how to make it better. So I'm really keen for you to come back to me at a later date. You can fire me a wee email, and we can start to chat about this further down the line. Don't think that just because we've had this event that's it, lines of communication are over, because it might take a wee bit of time to think about how you want to move forward with it.
Yeah, one more thing just to mention is that, by the way, thanks, Patricia. I saw that link in the chat. I'm going to add that to our repository, and we'll add for reviewing by our team. One other thing to add is that Dawn and I made a short video on actually how to use the playbook, creating accounts, making content and editing pages directly. So if anyone's, interested in that, I've just posted a link in the chat as well to a blog we made, and at the bottom of there you can see the video of Dawn giving me a run through of how to create your own account and do the content yourself. So it's one of the best ways to get involved.
Thanks very much, Will. I think if anybody's had like any basic sort of use of a wiki before, you should be able to pick it up like pretty quickly. But again, I would highly recommend the blog that Will has just shared. It does have run-throughs of some of the key actions that you might want to take on the playbook, just to get you started. What I would say as well, something to think about, is that we are looking into the possibility of developing working groups, technical working group and a content working group for the playbook. And this is because we recognise within the Alliance that we are a small group in ourselves, and we have a defined set of skills and experiences. And this in itself might have an impact on how the platform is developed and how the content is developed. So I'm really keen to hear from people who might have some technical expertise and understanding in running wikis, particularly on MediaWiki, and also in the open data space, and developing in that sort of general area, who might be interested in being part of a technical working group. And also people who are interested in wiki content, developing AI content, particularly people who come from a range of backgrounds and voices. We're really keen to get as many people involved as possible. So that will be later down the line. We want to get this initial phase of the playbook kicked off and get people really interacting with it. But later down the line, we'll be looking at developing these working groups. So I would strongly encourage you to, again, email me, and we can look at possible participation in that.
Thanks, Dawn. Are there any other questions from anyone? Feel free to ask us directly or type in the chat. And if not, we'll wrap up in a bit. And Dawn and I will hang around for a bit afterwards if anyone wants to stay on and chat in more detail. But if there are no other questions, I guess that's the end of that will be the end of the meeting, right, Dawn?
Yeah, absolutely. I would just, we can all get 23 minutes back. But I would, like I said, I would strongly encourage you all to visit the AI Playbook. As I said, that's ScottishAIPlaybook.com. Have a wee look, have a wee feel for what's already there. If you are thinking of any potential questions or how to get involved or anything that I've already spoken about, please reach out to me and send me an email. It's dawn.hunter@thedatalab.com. And my email address is in the chat. Will had posted it earlier. And yeah, just have a look, have fun with it. And just see what you think about what's already there, because I'm really open to feedback. We all are at the AI Alliance, and we just want to make this the best platform that we can. But if no one else has any questions, I'm happy to set you all free. And as Will says, we'll be hanging around for another wee while.